Hello, very good morning to you, and welcome to Table Talk on Benue Television. This is a place where we chronicle both local, state, and of course national. Sometimes we even beam our searchlight on the international sphere to take a look at issues that are affecting the citizenry. Today's edition of the program is going to take a look at issues of the moment in Nigeria, what's happening currently, and what is affecting the populace in this country. We talk about hardship. We're also going to go a long way to talk about the negotiations for the national minimum wage, which seem to be headed nowhere. And we shall also talk about the actors and players of politics and the trust issue with the citizens and, of course, those holding public offices. The body language of the Nigerian Governors Forum towards helping the government come up with a new minimum wage. Are they being sincere? Why the disparaging voices amongst some governors? Why are some governors ready and some others are not ready? What could be the reason? Are they not getting something from the FAC, federal allocation? These and more shall be, looked at in the course of the program. We shall also involve ourselves in other debates that are happening in the country, Nigeria. All we intend to do is to have you stay glued to your television sets. I will be here to do justice to this very important topic. My name is Japheth Kwahom. Stay with us as we shake the table, but I can assure you we will never break the table. I'd like to welcome my guests and, of course, the Benue Television ambassador who is in the house also to speak on the issues we are going to raise in the course of the program. I'd like to welcome you, Paul Uga. He's actually the former chairman, ANA, that's Association of Nigerian, Authors in Benue State. So he's right here to talk about this very important topic. I'd like to welcome you to the studios of Benue Television.
Good morning, Japheth. It's nice being here once again.
Yes, definitely. It's quite a pleasure having you, especially knowing that you are ready to speak the truth, because I will most surely cough out the truth from you, and the people will surely, follow what we're talking about. Let's begin this way. There are a lot of issues happening in Nigeria, and so as a journalist that you are, and as a writer, a prolific one at that, you must have started writing about lots of issues. Some other scholars have, posited that it was better that Chinua Achebe had allowed the book Things Fall Apart to actually get released at this moment in Nigeria, because this is the moment that suits the title of the book. Let's look at what issues are there on your mind and what issues seem to bother you as a citizen in this country.
Well, looking at the issue in Nigeria and in the country, as citizens of the country, even the low, the high, the middle class are feeling the cost of living in the country is getting out of hand, and that is what is making everybody to sweat. And even if you see the big men, they say the goat sweat, but because of his body might not see the sweat. Even those that are in the high classes, they're also feeling it. So the cost of living in the country is the major thing that is hitting almost everybody.
Yeah, but we have started complaining. We had started complaining about cost of living in the past 8 years, let's put it that way. We complained about cost of living during the time of President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, and we thought it was even bad when President Muhammadu Buhari took over. We cried that things are getting out of hand. Now President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has taken over the mantle of leadership, and it seems as though the outcry has been doubled. What do you think is really the problem, and what do you think is truly the cause of this? Is it mismanagement of resources, or is it poor handling of leadership position, or it is the masses that are actually responsible for the hardship we have in the country?
Looking at it from the back, from the previous regime, as you have pointed out, during Jonathan, people were complaining, but when Buhari came, people say, "Oh, we were living in paradise." Now we have seen, and from Buhari, after Buhari has exited, now people say, "Oh, we were living, but now we are in hell." So because looking at what is happening and the situation people has found themselves, and one cannot say because of bad leadership, but because when the President Tinubu came on board, the first thing that he did during his inauguration, before even appointing ministers and all that, was to say subsidy is gone forever. Without having people to reason together to put the solution, or to provide things that could cushion the effect of subsidy removal, and at the end of it try to remedy it, and the effort so far has not been yielding positive result. He has been making effort, but the effort, despite diverse means that have been trying to checkmate or to reduce the impact, the negative impact of subsidy removal, the heat is still so much on the people, and that is what has made the life very, very unbearable for most of Nigerians. If you see, if those in the towns are feeling the heat, go to the rural areas and those in the villages, you will see it more.
Now, if you look at presidential speech, when President Tinubu's inaugural speech, he didn't say we will try to remove subsidy. He said subsidy is gone. That's exactly how he was able to put it. Are you one of those advocating that subsidy should actually be reinstated?
Yes, because looking at the issue, all the efforts so far, rice has been given, 50,000 have been given, and other incentive or whatever that he has planned to help, and at the end of the day, the result is not yet on site. So I think if government that will have to assess that, or have to assess things critically, if I were to be in his shoe, the only solution is to restore the subsidy on petrol.
But we have suffered already. So don't you think? Remember the analogy that the president gave. He said it is just like a woman in a labor room. The pain is going to come, but joy comes in the morning. That was how he was able to put it. Don't you think Nigerians need to be a little more patient? Just a question.
Yes. Looking at the analogy that you have given, if a woman is in labor, has been in pains, and after delivering, and the medical doctor have administered a lot of things, and the result is not there, and the pain still continue. So I think the doctor or whoever that is in charge have to think otherwise. Because, well, he said it will be better, but as we are progressing, instead of start seeing the impact gradually, or seeing the result that yes, things are getting better, rather things are getting out of hands. Even if you go to market now, this local rice, a tin of local rice now is 40,000 naira in Benue, which is the food basket of the state. And if you see, even a rubber pint of Gari now is going for 7,000 or 5,000, 6,000 naira in Benue, which is a food basket. So if you start to go to far states that doesn't even indulge in farming, you will marvel at the price of all those things. So where do you think we are heading to?
Well, Paul Luga, we know that sometimes it is good to take the bull by the horn. In fighting the bull, you cannot hold the bull by any part of the body except the horn. And if you are holding the bull by the horn, you are much ready for the battle. Do you think the president was prepared for these issues that we are facing in the country, the battle, the economic battle that we are facing now? Do you think the president was prepared enough for what we are going through now? Because he seemed to be very confident that things shall change. Do you feel the same way with Mr. President?
Well, he has been in government for quite a long time, and before embarking on the journey to vie for the position, the highest position of office in the country as the president, he might have put up his tactics or whatever, his assumptions, and how he would do. But at the end of the day, yes, he has preparation, he has mastered his thought, and that was why when he came on board, he did not consult anybody. He did not wait for the ministers to be, or a special advisor to be put in place before coming up with the policy, because he thought that he has the solution, that once subsidy is gone, according to him, Nigeria problem will be solved. Look, but in other words, we are not seeing that result yet.
So in essence, you would rather say that we should at least go back to subsidy a little while?
looking at what is happening, the public outcry, you are
no. Let's talk about you. Let's talk about
for
you.
me personally, in my opinion,
Yes.
if you have come up with a policy and it's has taken up to a year, and you are not seeing any headway, there's nothing wrong in going back. Okay, look at the issue in Kenya. The price, the cost of living in Kenya rose so high, and people went to street and started demonstrating. And now a lot of outcry in the country. The president now has risen and has said he's ready to talk with the protesters, and he has even removed some of the things that he put in place that have jacked up the cost of living. If you put up some certain idea and you see that it's affecting people so much, there's nothing wrong. We are human beings. There's nothing wrong to say, oh, it is an error or whatever, and you revert.
Are you indirectly calling for a peaceful protest in the country?
That's not what I'm saying.
But you are referencing Kenya, where there was a protest and the president has listened.
Yes.
Are you also saying that in Nigeria, the language that can be listened to by our leaders is also protest? Is that what you're saying?
Nigeria, we are very docile people, whereby a lot of things come up, we'll joke over it, we'll laugh over it, and at the time they even say Nigeria are the most happiest people on earth, even in the face of hardship. So God has given us maybe that grace to overcome some certain shock.
So how much more do you think Nigerians should be patient? Because you had advocated that Nigerians need some level of patience. How much more? Let's quantify the patience.
Well, we keep on talking, we keep on advising, we keep on. There are so many ways that people can provide solutions. Protest is this thing. Labor went on protest in the aspect of trying to increase the minimum wage. That is part of it too, so that people's lifestyle can be improved. So I think patience does not have limits. If you want peace to maintain in the country, you can exercise patience even for eternity.
Well, Paul, you understand that some persons will say that the Israelites were in captivity for more than 350 years, and they kept on with the patience. But this is not Israel, this is Nigeria. And Nigerians have endured a lot of problems in the past. Most of these problems are being accumulated. That is to say that they have been piled up, and it's getting to an unbearable stage. What measures do you think, in your own thoughts, should have been put in place to at least reduce the hardship in the country? In your own thought as a citizen, what immediate solutions do you think would have been preferred to ensure that at least Nigerians are living a better life?
Looking at what is happening and what the country is going through, the president has been making effort, but the effort even along the line get mixed up and all that. If Nigeria want to touch life, they can touch life, just like President Obasanjo, the former president of the country, once said that if electricity tariff can get to every Nigerian in every part of the country, where they have electricity supply,
yes,
the bill get to all individual in even the remote part of the country. So if the country want to reach out to the citizens, they can do it. A lot of people, there is a means that they can do it. A lot of people that have bank account, they can reach out through individual bank account, and they can even visit individual houses. And even some state has done this, and it has worked. So, but coming out, maybe channeling some certain thing through some certain media along the line, it could not get to the people, or it is mismanaged, or it is misused, and all that. That has been the problem. And then looking at the cost of living, to improve the cost of living, even we talk of this minimum wage. even when that is done, it's going to still increase the inflations and all that. What the government is supposed to do, they're supposed to come up with a policy of price control, and then government can also buy and then inject it into the market. By the time they start to sell their own, okay, look at what is happening now in Benue. Like, sorry for...
Yeah, go ahead.
In Benue State here, the present government has come up with the production of bread. I think this BIPC bread now being sold at 500 naira, and then a bag of water now, their bag of water now is 300 naira, and a lot of people are patronizing that. Even the water now, because of that, other producers are reducing their own. So if government go into all this thing and start sending it to markets.
I want to ask you a question now that I really want you to be very sincere in approaching this question. How can the government embark on a price control when the government is not subsidizing any sector? No economic sector in this country is subsidized. If subsidy itself has been removed, it means you have left the business people to their own fate. Now, there are certain things that government is basically expected to do for the citizens. Housing is supposed to be the responsibility of the government. Food that you eat is supposed to be the responsibility of the government. Security is supposed to be the responsibility of the government. Water is supposed to be the responsibility of the government. So where all of these things are not provided by the government, what legal right or obligation do you have to ask someone to sell at a price that you did not contribute to? Let's be very candid.
That is where government find it difficult, and that is why I said in other way, government can also buy some certain like grains that they have. They can decide to push it to the market at a lower price. By putting it there, I give you a practical example of the water now that government, Benue State government is doing and selling it at a lower price, because others are selling 500, 400 naira for a bag of sachet water. But because the state government have started selling their own 300 naira, others have reduced their own. So if government could buy some grains, buy some foodstuff, and then start sending it to markets and all that, it will in a way reduce others. You know, competitions.
Yes.
Like even in the aspect of transportation in Benue State here, I always use Benue because this is where we are residing. This is what we see practical. In Benue State here, Benue Links Transport, when they came on board, like from Makurdi to Dupoden, other private or even jack their own to 4,000 naira. But the Benue State government come up with their own 2,000 naira. And because of that, a lot of people start patronizing them. And the private, because I'm not seeing people, because of competition, they have to force and then reduce their own price. And they are still buying fuel, they are still using petrol. So this is the way that...
Right. I'm going to ask you a much more specific question. And in all sincerity, do you think the president is sincere with his handling of the hardship in the country and the economy, as he has always said? Do you think he's been very sincere with the citizens?
You know, sitting in that office, you cannot see where.
How?
No, because a lot of things are being provided by the government. You have all the fringe benefits. Government provide virtually everything, and even when people complain, you will say, why are they complaining? Life is fine. Because for you, all is available. There is nothing that you lack. And even some that goes to the president and whatever, they will not be able to even tell him the truth. And the true picture, you might not be able to see it. And him, he has not been somebody that has come from the low background. He has been living fine before assuming this office. And so seeing the reality at times is not there. And when you are not seeing that, then you might not even have the feeling that people are feeling.
Are you now suggesting that moving forward we should elect poor presidents who will feel the impact of what the people are feeling? No, let's be, yes.
Well, that is not, if the person don't have the good heart, you put a poor person there, that is even the worst. All depends on individual.
So where do we go? Because you have said even a poor person
that
may
is
not...
the only thing that should be done is to assess people from their antecedent.
But
by during the selection, during the elections,
very
and
well,
all that, so that someone who has done well then but Nigeria factor will come in. If not, like now, we have that here in Benue. When the elections coming up and all that, and people will say, yes, father, yes, father. And yes, father, at the end of the day, people voted him. And the result, for now, we are seeing result until otherwise.
It's all right. Now, when you say let's, okay, fine, you've given an example here at the state, so I may be constrained, asking further. But if I was to ask again, I would say that you talked about trying to know the people before we bring them on board. There are several persons in the past we have claimed we know them, but when we bring them on board, we see a different thing altogether. All of us were clapping for former President Muhammadu Buhari. We thought when he comes on board, everything would just, change immediately. Much of that change was not seen. We also overwhelmingly brought other presidents in this country. If the Bola Tinubu, well, it's too early to say that Bola Tinubu has failed, because he has just spent 1 year in office. But for someone who has come to rescue a system that was almost at the verge of collapse, do you think much is being done? That is the question everybody is asking. Do you think much has been done already? Because in 1 year, there should be some significant change on ground for the people to say, at least we are seeing that there is light at the end of the tunnel. Can you see light at the end of the tunnel?
Well, the president, not that just within 1 year has totally failed. But what affect people mostly, because before you think of any other things, you look at means of surviving. And once the means of surviving, the cost of living is high, there's nothing else that you will do that people will appreciate. That is what is affecting the present administration, because the cost of living as a result of the removal of subsidy is affecting almost everybody. And that is why even other good things that he's doing, people are not feeling it, people are not saying it. If you are hungry and somebody is doing something even good, you might not be able to see because of the hunger that is affecting you. That is what we are experiencing in the country.
It's all right. I think we're due for a break at this point. We'll be right back to continue with our discussion. Remember, we're looking at issues of the moment in Nigeria, and there are a lot of other issues we intend to touch. When we return, we shall bring you more of what the issues in Nigeria are telling on the Nigerian citizens. Let's go on a break. Welcome back to the program. This is Table Talk on Benue Television, and we are still here talking about issues of the moment in Nigeria. Paul Luga is here talking about the various issues raised here in the studios. And this time around, let's turn our attention to the negotiations for the national minimum wage. We shall take a look at the minimum wage vis-a-vis the living wage of the country. Well, Paul Luga, you know that a lot of persons have said what the Nigerian citizens are paid cannot take them home and bring them back to work. This is not to talk about what they can eat and what they can put on the table for the family. Honestly speaking, what a Nigerian citizen is being paid in the real sense cannot take you to work and bring you back home. Now, the labor unions are there for the people. The governors forum is there representing the various states. The federal government is there with the money to pay or refuse to pay if they wish to. Now, talk to us about the sincerity of the federal government on this issue of national minimum wage. Talk about the sincerity of the labor unions and the push for this living wage and minimum wage. Then you can as well talk to us about what you feel the governors forum is doing. Do you think their body language is an indication that they would be faithful to this if implemented or passed to law?
Okay. Looking at the labor,
yes,
labor has been pushing for a minimum wage. They have been negotiating with the federal government, and the federal government too has been proposing. And if you look at the whole thing, it's like we are watching a drama, and at the end of the day, we will come to the end of the drama, because any drama that starts must have an end. As I said, anything that has a beginning must have an end. Because the federal government came up, I think the president directed the minister to come up with a proposal for the minimum wage. And the minister came up with 105,000. And then the president proposed 62,000 naira as minimum wage.
So what was
and
the
then
rationale?
The labor, I think, reduced their own to 250,000.
Good.
And at the end of the day, the president said, anyway, they are seeing the three. Well, he's going to give it to the National Assembly to pick one out of the three. And just like if you are watching a drama, at times you can predict the end of the drama, looking at the way the scenes and everything is going on. And looking at it, one can say that at the end of the day, the House might not pick anything more than 62,000, because by the time the president will talk to them and greet them and grease their hand, they will not do anything outside what the president has suggested. And at the end of the day, he will say, anyway, this is what the House has approved, that will stand by the House. It's not longer him that have proposed that. I think, to me, that is what I'm looking at. That might be the outcome of what we are waiting for. And Labour on their own, maybe romancing with the president, anything can go.
The question here is, you've not talked about the governors. The governors at a point said they cannot pay anything higher than 57,000.
Well,
and these monies are sent by the federal government.
That is by their body, the whole body. You know, at times when before they go for such meetings, there is a discussion behind the scenes and all that, and some of them, because of what has been discussed or what they say they should do, they will just concur to whatever that was agreed upon. But their real self will come out at their own individual decision. That is why we are having dissenting voices today. There are some even governors that have even started paying above what the governor forum has suggested. And there are some other governors that have come out openly to say that whatever federal government has approved, that they are ready to start payment. And others are just watching without saying anything.
Why?
So, well, it depends on individual. It depends on what is in their mind. Maybe they have resolved that, well, if federal government say this, they will be the first one to pay, but decide not to say it out. But others have said that they have even prepared the money, and whatever federal government say, they will pay.
Now, when you talk about this, I get more confused. You know that these monies are coming from the federal coffers.
Yes.
Federal government shares money every month to the 36 states. Monies are also given to FCT to service everything that's happening there. So why will you not pay money that is sent to you to pay workers?
It depends on their priority. It depends on their, you know.
So a government that fails to prioritize the people themselves,
okay,
can that still be called a government?
You know, well, the governors in Nigeria, they act like emperors, as if their independence of the system.
What has
that
made
is
them
some, not all of them anyway.
Yes.
And that is why even when the federal government say that minimum wage is fixed as this, you see some dissenting from that agreement because of because of the way that they take the people, they take the workers and all that.
All right, now the National Assembly again is saying they want to come up with a law that will penalize or sanction governors who may refuse to pay when this minimum wage is implemented. But these are the same governors that have posed to be above the law in the past. They have done and undone, and people never complained. Do you think that's going to be a solution to the implementation of the minimum wage?
If National Assembly puts such law in place, it will checkmate it. You know, laws, once law is in place, people wouldn't want to breach the law. And
but governors have breached the law in the past severally, and you're aware of this.
Well, because they have immunity.
Good.
And when they're out of office, they have been probed. A lot of governors have been probed and even made to face the law.
So what makes you
breach.
think the immunity clause will not come to play when it comes to the issue of payment of minimum wage?
Well, when such happens, the people have the individual states that the governor misbehaved or decided not to do the needful. They have the choice, because this tenure is 4 years. So when you don't perform, the people are there to determine your future. When you go back to them that you should be re-elected, they have the power to say no, you cannot be voted back.
That's all right. Now, on the issue of minimum wage, which we had already discussed about this here in the same studios, we can't stop talking about it because it is still a problem that Nigerians are faced with, and you don't stop talking about a sickness until you are healed from it. Let's look at, do you think the synergy between the National Assembly, of course, or the synergy amongst the National Assembly, the governors, and the labor union will help in this matter? Because from the look of things, it seems as though a strike may still resume at the end of the day. Do you think the labor unions, based on the feelers you're receiving, do you think the labor unions will be able to condescend to accepting 62,000 as against 250? Because it's not even up to 100.
That is where their own integrity will be put to test. If they come up with 62 and accept, their integrity will be put to test, and people will now know that well, it has been gained all this while. But then they have already said that anything less than that they will not take. So we are waiting to see the end of it. What the National Assembly will come up with.
Now, there is another statement that is coming from the presidency that people who may want to sabotage the system using the minimum wage thing may also be sanctioned. You have not passed the executive bill for the implementation of a minimum wage. So why are you worried about sanctions that will be given to people who may want to thwart the minimum wage arrangement? Don't you think you are smelling a fire already?
That is why I say that at the end of the day, if what has been happening in the National Assembly does not happen, the true things will come up. And but if the people think of themselves first, and there is a change of things and all that, they will have no other way than to dance to the tunes of the president. But if they really have the people in mind, they will not go to that level. But where we find ourselves there, any other thing can come up. Labor may go back to streets.
That's all right. Now, let's also talk about this matter, because it's also related to the issue of payment. Ministry of Labor and Productivity and Employment has also released a statement that there are Nigerians in the diaspora who are receiving payment. They're relocated abroad. They're taking home pay and are working over there and taking pay in the foreign land as well. This is against the law. Now, Mr. President has said those people should return the monies they have collected. Can you wrap your mind around this matter?
Well, that is an issue that is happening. Even aside from that, in local government across the state, is still also happening. There are some that are not even in their local government at all, that are being paid, maybe stay in the state capital. Then at the end of the month, they go there to collect salary and return back without even contributing anything to the local government. And for that federal government, the federal government to come up with that policy, it is a good one, because that is outright corruption. You are being paid for what you are not rendering service for, and then working outside again, double salary. I think it's a very bad thing. It's a heartless thing for those that are indulging in that. But at least if you look at the class of people that are indulging in that, they are not average class. There are people that are connected. At the end of the day, you discover that those people, again, when they want to touch them, it will also go back to those that are in government. And because of that connectivity or whatever, or linkage, or that the government has, at the end of the day will be tied.
Do you also think government has over the years been very, very fair to the workforce of this country? I'm talking specifically the civil service. Do you think the federal government and governments across the country have been fair to the plight of the civil servants?
Well, a lot of issues have been put in place. You cannot generalize, because we are operating federal system.
Yeah, but
if
what
you look at
specific
state from state to state, it differs. And at the federal levels, there have been incentives that they put in place to assist the public servants and all that. And even at various state levels, that differs from one state to another.
Now, the same federal government last week rewarded some civil servants who have been hard working. In the past, some were rewarded with the housing scheme, some with SUVs, and some were given plots of land in Abuja as a form of compensation and appreciation for their dedication to service and all of that. This was what used to happen in the past. It's been over decades now. It's happening for the first time. We may say kudos to President Bola Tinubu, but the bigger question is the civil servant in this country remunerated as commensurate to what he or she does in the office? You hardly will see anyone who retires from the office looking fine, because they retire to poverty. Do you think that has been given the respect or pride of place that it truly deserves, the civil service?
That is why there's a continued review of payment of civil servant salary, and that is why labor has been on the neck of the federal government, and that is the issue that I've just spoken on. And because looking at their condition, labor do come up to say no, whatever they are taking now cannot take care of them. There is need for improvement, there is need for increment and all that. So continuously there has been improvement on what the civil servant takes, even at the state levels and all that.
Do you think the National Assembly will accept minimum wage? What I'm talking about, if they are asked to also allow themselves to be placed on the national minimum, do you think they would accept it? No, of course.
They will never accept that, because when you start to talk, they say then the process that they took before they got to that place, and it's a tedious one, and that labor.
Who took them to the place? Who took them to that place?
Through vying for the various.
Who voted them
into
office?
All the citizens of the country voted them into that, and there is a lot of benefit. There is a lot of fringe benefit.
So does that make them above
even in some certain country whereby they reduce some certain allowances for the National Assembly, that of workers and all that, to improve the economy of the country. So,
have the Senate at any point in this country accepted that their allowances be slashed to go to the members of the public or to the citizens? Has that ever happened? Since democracy is 25 years now. Has that ever happened? That's 2 decades.
They are the lawmakers. They are the one to stop such. When there is agitation for that, if it comes to the assembly, they are the one to pass that. And since it has direct bearing on themselves and that, they will never accept that to remove even a dim or a kobo from their allowances or from their.
So don't you think that is selfish? Because a leader, a one who is at the helm of affair in a country like Nigeria, should be selfless. Don't you think that is selfish?
Well, until we make a democracy too attractive, we'll continue to face what we are facing in the country. Elsewhere, you discover that politicians are not living too large as it is done in our country here. You see, politicians can even be on your next neighbor door, wherever you rent a house and all that, but here it is not like that.
It's okay. Now, recently, some Nigerians have been, clamoring for a parliamentary system of governance as against the presidential system. To very many, it is too expensive to run. Parliamentary is more stable, according to some scholars. And then there are some persons who are also pushing for regional governance, that we should go back to regional governance where we had the northern and the southern protectorate operating differently. That's on another hand. Some other persons are actually agitating for creation of more states and council wards, local governments, and more. What do you have to say about that?
Well, whatever system that has been put in place since it's still the same people that will man the various offices. If we don't deal with ourselves holistically in terms of improving our characters, we will not still get it right. It's just like
so you're saying it's
just like you have bad drivers.
Yes.
And you say, well, these vehicles you need to, and then you go and buy another set of vehicles and say, okay, drivers come and take the same people, the same character. The vehicle will still go bad. So what we need to do is to change our concept, and we have to reason, we have to vote the way we vote, and all these things start with us individually because of the situation we have found ourselves. When we are talking of sanitizing the system, we have to sanitize ourselves as an individual, because during the electioneering, we so much depends on money, so much depends on material things, and at the end of the day, the result of what we are seeing today is what the followers have invested in such a way that they have so much collected from politicians, and when you so much collect from the politician, if he comes aboard, he doesn't care, because he have to recoup whatever he has invested in the project.
It's right. So now let's talk about the issue of regional governance. Let's talk about the issue of creation of more states. Are you for or against the creation of more states?
Well, that is part of development. If more states are created and the resources is there, there's nothing wrong about that, because we were not just the states have been increased from what it used to be, and as a result of that, it has extended development to several parts of the country where it's not supposed to be as developed as it is now, has been developed because the state there is now being located, the state capital has been located or sited in such a place. So it's part of development.
What makes you think the president is not keen about conducting a census? Before he came on board, there were plans to, conduct, census in this country. And since he took over, he has never said anything about that.
I think he has killed into that project, only that trying to put some certain things in place. He said that when he came on board, it was too sudden for him to do. And he has not really rejected or neglected that policy. It is still in the pipeline, and they are still working on it.
Now, what do you make of those who are calling for political restructuring, where we have some part of the country go on their own, why we have the other parts stay? Do you agree with that notion? Do you support a political restructuring in that sense?
Is it in terms of division of the country?
Yeah, division of the country. People have said that, and they are not tired of saying it.
Well, it's part of development.
Do you yourself support it?
It will come to a stage that it will happen.
Yes.
Even though it's not possible
but
now.
Do you, as Paul Uga, are you in support of it?
Well, why I'm not, it's part of development. I support it because when they create new state, there are a lot of countries in the world that have been separated and they bring about development, and they were living in peace. But how to do it is the issue. Where you bring violence to start it, it will not help. But in a peaceful manner, a lot of country has been separated. We have Southern Sudan and Northern Sudan and several others that have even break out of a particular state. But when we want to use violence to achieve it, it's very difficult. If not, it's a good thing. It's something that brings about competition.
That's right. Another issue of the moment that I would want us to, it would have been sub judice, but we're not talking about the merits and merits of the case of Nnamdi Kanu, who has been there in prison. He's been in jail for as long as you are also aware. He has called for out-of-court settlement. Do you think he has taken the right decision? And do you think the government of Nigeria would be willing to have negotiations with him to release him? Because it's one of the reasons we're having issues in the eastern part of the country.
Well, if one in law, if one says it's ready for out-of-court settlement, it depends on the other party to assess, to see the visibility, to see the sources of the suggestion. And if it is something that they understand that yes, it's going to bring about peace, they will accept. So it's left for the federal government to assess the genuineness of the out-of-court settlement, and if they deem it fit, they will accept.
Let's bring it down to the state now. We've talked a lot about the national. Let's bring it down to the subnational, Benue, where you and I belong. Recently, the governor embarked on a tour across the 23 local government areas, starting from Sankara axis. I don't know if you have a summary statement on what has happened. His tour and all of that. He has been to Zone C, and the promise is to construct a flyover. That's one of the gigantic projects promised to the people of Zone C, and that's going to be situated in Otukbo to beautify the town. One is in Boko, that has already been there. What do you think of all of this tour? Do you think something significant is going to come out of it? Is there anything more you had expected the governor to do during the tour?
Well, the governor has toured the various local government, and huge promises has emerged from the tour. What I would advise the governor to do, because he has started on the right footing, and his own assistants or commissioners, they have to take note of all the promises that have given to the various local government, because as he's saying all this thing, it is being documented, and when it is not put into practice, where that is how people will now start assessing him either as he's failing or he's succeeding. So they need to document all the promises made in the various local government. I think he has made a lot of promises, which if he succeeds in implementing them, the state will be transformed to a good state.
Do you believe in the capacity of the governor to achieve all of these things?
It depends on the individual determinations and sacrifices.
No, I'm talking about the governor himself. Do you believe in his capacity to deliver on some of the promises he has made?
So far, by what he has done, I believe in him that he can do it. And that is why I said, as human being, there is a tendency for him to promise, and if there is nobody to keep on reminding him, Your Excellency, you made this promise, do this, and if they are not being documented, there is bound for him to forget some of the promises, and at the end of the day, the people will be disappointed, and that will not be good enough. But with what he has started, I believe that he can do that if his people guide him, keep on reminding him of all the promises, or document it, so that he will be in the know of it as he's continuing governing the states.
So far, so good. What has His Excellency done that has captivated you so much?
The first, if you wake anybody from sleep, that though I'm not under the civil service, I'm not working with the state government, anybody that you touch in the street, the first they will mention to you is the regular payment of salary and the payments of even the pensioners. that has been, even that is the first, among other several things that he has done, embark on road constructions and even the underpass, things that were not in place before, that is bringing it. Maybe by the time all these things, some of these roads are being constructed, somebody that have not been in the state like maybe 5 years, he will come, he'll be confused whether if it's in Makurdi or elsewhere, or in Benue or elsewhere.
What would you have asked the governor to do more if you had the opportunity to meet with him?
Well, what the governor needs to do is to, the issue of fertilizer, the farmer need it badly. Need to at least make sure that the fertilizer get to farmers in the rural parts, not just distributing it in Makurdi alone. Let it get to the farmers in the remote areas. And the issue of provision of water. Another thing that the governor needs to do to also write his name on the sand of history is that of this our issue of water. See river by Benue, even go to state that don't have water at all. They stop running with water in every homes. But that has been the problems of successive government. And if he succeeds in doing that, in addition with what he's doing, then I think the people will ever continue to remember him.
Very well then. I must thank you very much indeed, Paul Uga, for being a part of this program. I really would have loved to continue on and on, but I think there is a need for us to say goodbye at this point here. I must commend you very warmly for coming up on Table Talk this morning. I appreciate you for coming.
Thank you very much.
Yes. And so this is where we have to, draw the curtains on today's edition of the program. Remember that Table Talk is a place where we shake the table, but like I have always promised, we can never break the table. We're here for you and we'll always be here for you. Keep watching Benue Television for more programs. My name is Japhet Kwahom. Goodbye.